Hello everybody and welcome back to Dirt Road Nation.
I'm Zach.
I'm Jake.
And we are the Dirt Road Band.
It's a solid clunk. This is Ace. I'm beating my hand.
You've never actually got to see him before, but he's up here paying attention to us. So this is kind of our first real podcast. We tried to start a podcast right around the time COVID started, and then me living in the country and having to deal with internet issues, I just couldn't upload regularly. So we kind of had to shelve that at the time, but we wanted to do some kind of new content. Excuse him. We wanted to do some kind of new content, and we thought that we could, have our whiskey and cigars and talk about that a little bit, but also go through kind of current events.
Yeah.
Work for you?
Works for me.
So, obviously, we're pretty conservative guys. I think that's very obvious from the jump, let alone if you've seen, virtually any of our content where we talk about any non-whiskey topics for any breadth of time. What?
I'm doing my hands.
We have whiskey. Just down whiskey the whole time. Just, Ron Swanson it while I'm talking and do the, slowest whiskey drink ever. Yeah. But we've got several stories to go through today. We're going to try to get through all of this in about an hour. And hopefully, if you guys like it, we'll do some more. This being kind of our episode 0. We know that the audio may be kind of spotty, and we've got the dog just breathing crazy right here, but we will kind of adjust as we go. Hopefully, we can move this to less of a duct tape type production. Because we planned this out, but then we kind of had to throw it together by the time we got to get here and get started.
Yeah.
So, I think the biggest story of the last week is the Kyle Rittenhouse trial, and the next biggest probably be Joe's vax mandate getting put on hold. We've got a couple of fun stories that aren't, world-bending news, but we thought they were pretty interesting. And then we'll touch on Steve Bannon's indictment as well for the involuntary tour of January 6th. So, which, as far as YouTube is concerned, is the worst insurrection in U.S. history. There's the South, and then there's Ashley Babbitt apparently in the list of bad people. So I don't know. For those unfamiliar, Ashley Babbitt was the one person that actually got killed there because she got shot by an officer going through a door. And yeah, that was pretty rough. But, I think some of these others will be pretty fun. We're drinking some Balvenie Portwood 21 today, which we got recently because we've actually been friends for 21 years this year. So, cheers to that. But, yeah, I think without, much ceremony, we'll probably get some housekeeping items and things out of the way at the beginning of these, generally speaking, and we'll develop a more succinct format. But I think we'll go ahead and start with Joe's vax mandate, if you don't mind.
All right.
Awesome.
So the vaccination mandate through OSHA on November 12th, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals put a hold on it until it goes to the Supreme Court. The mandate made it so that if any company...
Whoa! Our bad.
You're welcome for that. Let me fix that real quick. Nice.
I swear to God, he didn't just yell German things. I have been watching The Boys with Seth. We finally finished season 2, so I don't have to watch that anytime soon. and the Stormfront turned out to be like a Nazi, and she dies muttering to herself in German. So,
Well then,
yeah,
alrighty then.
random interesting tidbit. But sorry, go ahead.
So
Wax
the-
mandate on hold. Fifth
Yeah.
Circuit.
What it was saying was any company, any private company, not just government agencies and stuff, any private company with 100 or more employees, every employee had to either be vaccinated or once a week they'd have to get tested for COVID and wear a mask all the time. No matter what you're doing, be 1,000 miles from the nearest person working out in some field. If there are 100 people in your company, you had to follow it. And if you didn't, you would get a $14,000 fine for each infraction.
Each infraction.
So if all
Is that
100
infraction, is that like per employee, or is that per employee per day? I wonder.
I think
That'd
it's
be insane.
every time you don't follow it, they can fine you. So if all your employees, all 100 employees are not doing it on Monday, you get all, however many that would be, $140,000 fine?
Mm-hmm.
Or does it be a $14,000 fine?
14,000 times 100. So
Okay.
yeah, that would not be good. Drop 2 zeros on the end of that, good buddy.
Yeah.
That's $1.4 million.
And then if you do it again on Tuesday, there's another 1.4 million.
Yeah,
So-
that's insane.
The court stated that the new mandate grossly exceeds OSHA's statutory authority and then ordered OSHA to take no steps to implement or enforce the mandate until further court order. And then the next court to see that is going to be the Supreme Court. And they'll decide the legality and all that on it. But everybody was still saying that employers should be prepared to go ahead and have that take effect just so you're not caught with your pants down at the last minute.
Okay, mild technical difficulties. Cut that out. But anyway, we were talking about the court holding it up. The sucky thing about this, I think, is that a lot of companies already took so many steps towards implementation that most people are going to have vaxxed anyway by the time this gets sorted.
Mm-hmm.
So
Or
I think a lot of the damage is kind of done from the executive overreach.
yeah, or even maybe not vax, but found a company that it's not going to require it. They're not going to mess with it already.
Yeah, exactly. I saw a guy online, for example, that he had really two sectors of his companies, like two easily dividable sectors of his company. And so he just split his company into two companies. He had his production company and his packaging and shipping company, and they were two separate companies. So then he had under 100 employees at each.
Yeah, I think I saw that too. If not, I saw another guy do basically the same thing.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's good, and I like the spirit of people stepping up. I understand that, like, some people have no choice but to make the compromise to get it because it's, like, bad or not feed their family. I do sympathize with that, I understand that. But if at all possible, don't friggin' submit just because they put a gun to your head, man. Like, if you wanted to get the vax, but don't do it because they're going to try and make you.
Yeah, there are other ways to get food.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
deer season.
I bet Donnie Dust ain't getting told to do nothing.
No kidding, man. You vacate your home. I don't have a home.
He seems like the type who might still get it, but you know,
That's,
it's his choice, so I don't care.
yeah.
I understand people getting it. Political candidate I used to support pretty heavily. Now he does a radio show. He got it, Austin Peterson. He got it willingly, and you know he has family members that didn't. But yeah,
I've got family members on both sides. Got it, didn't get it.
Yep. I don't know. I just it's pretty anti-American to force people to do stuff. This, ironically, is like one of the most egregious things they've done lately, because, or really in my life, just because they don't get to forcefully inject you with anything. That's ridiculous.
The one biggest argument I've seen is people talking about the vaccinations that you get to be able to go to public school. Like you still don't have to get those. Like, if your parents don't want you to get those,
Yeah, they can apply for exemption, and it's almost always given.
mm-hmm.
At least in my experience. So.
Or don't go to, like, if you're that kind of parent, don't send your kid to public school, or try to send your kid to public school, and if you do try, don't complain about not being able to.
Yeah, I mean, probably not a great idea to have your kids in the public school system right now
There's that too.
anyway. But yeah, I think that story got kind of overshadowed by what's going to be our next big thing, but I'm happy about it because maybe, just maybe, this will go to the Supreme Court and stop. Because the Fifth Circuit is kind of a conservative court, and theoretically we have 6 conservatives on the Supreme Court, but Justice Roberts is kind of not.
Yeah.
So really we have 5. However, they've already kind of disappointed me in a couple of spots. I really think they should have heard out the multi-state lawsuit over the election, just because that would have been a lot better to put the election to bed. At least people would have had a place to air out their grievances.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just, I don't know. I'm happy to see that it might actually get stopped.
Yeah, me too.
And I also, while after seeing admittedly a much more murky trial turn out in a way I really didn't think it had a way to turn out, talking about the Chauvin trial, I just didn't think there was beyond a reasonable doubt proof that the man was guilty of anything like first-degree murder. At most, maybe kind of a negligent homicide, but honestly, after seeing all the evidence there, I really didn't think that either.
Yeah.
Not beyond a reasonable doubt. I mean, it's possible because you don't know what he's thinking, but there's just too much room there with the procedures they were taught, things like that. So, I don't know. Which segues us into the Rittenhouse trial. So, Kyle Rittenhouse, for anybody that somehow has been living under a rock long enough to not know who he is, he went to Kenosha, which was 20-30 minutes from his house, where he lived primarily anyway. He worked in Kenosha because there were riots and a lot of property. I'm going to get to maybe a new fact that came out recently.
Okay.
However, there was a lot of property destroyed the first night of the riots surrounding Jacob Blake, the guy who sexually assaulted his woman and went for a knife and got shot by the cops and paralyzed. He went there. I believe he was actually asked to protect with a group of guys this specific car lot, but he also was going around just cleaning up graffiti and kind of putting out fires, providing aid. And then as he does this, he's attacked by Joseph Rosenbaum, who raped an 8-year-old boy. Like, this wasn't some dude that, was 21 dating a 17-year-old. This guy literally went after a little kid. He attacked Kyle, and Kyle shot him, and then in the midst of that ends up he's trying to run to safety into police, and these guys pursue him, and he ends up, they overtake him, they attack him, he gets kicked in the face, he gets hit with a skateboard. The guy that kicked him in the face, by the way, only due to go after Kyle Rittenhouse and get out unscathed on that whole deal. Nobody knows who he is. Nothing. He just noped the hell out of it.
I don't blame him.
Yeah, given the intense amount of like trigger discipline and proficiency this kid showed. If you've been paying attention to the trial over the last week, the thing that I think got to me the most was actually something that I thought was really dumb, and that was that they put Kyle on the stand, which is very dangerous because this is a young kid, and he's about to get cross-examined by an attorney who wants nothing more than to convict him. And Binger is just the worst, by the way. That's the attorney that's prosecuting him. A lot of people have taken to calling him Little Binger.
Oh yeah, okay, I was getting ready to say that.
Here's a key bit of evidence that came out this week, though, that I didn't know beforehand.
What's that?
Kyle's dad lives in Kenosha.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
So I didn't know his parents weren't together, but like, that would be like if my kid came to town here to try to help protect one of my friend's businesses or something.
Yeah.
And then people said, oh, he crossed from Missouri into Kansas. Like, he lives here too, guys. He doesn't live here primarily, maybe, but come on.
Yeah.
This is still a community that he's also part of. So that really just threw that whole argument out.
Yeah.
Then they had the one surviving witness, the man who got shredded biceps faster than anyone in the fitness industry. He he took the stand and repeatedly said that he did not chase Kyle, he did not point his gun at him, things like this, until they literally walked him through the video and forced him to admit, yeah, you did chase Kyle, and only after you stopped surrendering, pulled your firearm and pointed it at Kyle, did he shoot. He was like, yeah. So that's out. But the kid's testimony was just hard to watch, man.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a better man than me, honestly, because I gotta tell you, I think I would sleep like a baby after clapping that particular cross section of idiots.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially the one.
Yeah, like, A, they came after him, but B, they weren't just misguided good people, obviously. Supposedly, I was told, I couldn't find more on this, but supposedly Grosskreutz, the surviving guy, had a felony, but he now has an active concealed carry permit in that state, so I don't know how that works. I think maybe he was being brought up on felony charges that were dropped, because I did hear about some charges against him being dropped right before the trial started. Convenient.
Yeah. But still, if he had a pending felony against him at the time of the incident, then he would have still not. He still shouldn't have been carrying a firearm, according to law.
Yes.
Depending on, really, if you're walking the streets, you should be able to carry where the fuck you want. So.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it. Like, if you're going to get reintroduced into society, you should get all your rights back. If you want to do like a probationary period, and while they're on probation, they say don't get a firearm, and maybe some of these other restrictions they can't vote while they're on probation. The current restrictions that stick with felons for their entire life, I can understand that sticking with them for their probationary period, where it's like, here's your trial to see if you can get back into society and function correctly.
Yeah.
I can get over that. I think that's a pretty decent compromise in that instance, but I think that after that they should 100% be able to have all of their rights back. Which I know is not a super popular opinion with most people, violent felonies or no. But
if you're not good enough of a human to be able to be integrated back into society, either one, just don't let them back into society, or two, quit letting them breathe the same oxygen as us.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty straightforward way to put it. Well, and I extend that same philosophy to Kyle's carrying a weapon. Sure, he was 17 at the time, he's 18 now, and a lot of people have some issues with him holding a weapon. People tried to say that his friend bought the gun for him through a straw purchase, but his friend bought the gun, and the gun stayed at the friend's house constantly, meaning Kyle never brought it across state lines. and then was given to Kyle that night. So I don't see any evidence of really a straw purchase so much as him like loaning him a weapon.
Yeah.
I did think it was hilarious that Binger tried to go into like Call of Duty, and they brought up Kyle's TikTok account, which was 4 Doors More Wars, which further accents the idea that I'd probably like to hang out with this kid. Surprisingly, YouTube for most people seems to have been the only platform that has let people debate Kyle's innocence or guilt. They won't let you show the video. Understandable. People are dying. Whatever. Not that you can't find it, but there's a good chance your video is going to get taken down. But Facebook has our page knows if you post anything in support of Kyle, we'll ban it. Instagram, same thing. It's they'll shut your whole business down if they can. But the judge, due to the hunting law in that state, Kyle was allowed to have a gun. He just wasn't allowed to purchase a gun.
Yeah.
There's some extra stipulations, details, whatever. But that law, even though he wasn't specifically hunting at the time, although I wouldn't be super upset if he was. Yeah. I've seen some guys go to prison for just attacking pedophiles, and I really don't feel bad about them attacking pedophiles. I'm not one of these guys that's going to advocate for maps. But, at least, unless they're the kind that tell me how to get somewhere. But the judge dismissed the gun charge today based on that. The gun charge, honestly, based on how the trial's gone so far, really seemed like the only way they were going to get Kyle on anything.
Mm-hmm.
Now, like I said, I hesitate to say he's going to get off with this because they've caught people filming the jury, they've caught people threatening the judge, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So, and the jury in the back of their heads probably knows that their community's going to get set on fire if they quit this kid.
Well, if they do, and it does, we all know what to do.
Hand Kyle a rifle.
Yes.
I don't think he'd go back to that scenario again,
Probably
which is
not.
another reason why I think he's probably a better guy than I am. Because, again, I don't think I'd lose sleep over those guys. I'm not in his situation to know for sure, but I just don't think I have the heart and the sympathy that this kid did. So,
I think the only guy I think I would have probably felt bad for was the survivor.
Chris Grutz?
Yeah.
Yeah, why is that?
Just because you're blown apart his bicep, and that's probably gonna hurt a lot worse than dead.
Yeah. Here's something interesting. One of the interviews, you've seen the footage of the interviews before everything went down with Kyle.
Mm-hmm.
Elijah Schaefer, he has a show with The Blaze called Slightly Offensive. I think he has another one with them called You Are Here as well. He was actually there and got that footage. And in the FBI drone footage, which is terrifying, by the way, that means they're watching you always. You can see Kyle and Rosenbaum in the footage and the other people chasing Kyle. You can also see Elijah Schaefer in the same footage. They were that close together when the event started, and Elijah runs over and hides behind a car because not only was Kyle being attacked, but other gunshots started around the same time that started. Because Rosenbaum didn't have a gun and didn't fire at Kyle. Someone else fired in the air while Rosenbaum was chasing Kyle, and then he ended up cornered and turned around right after hearing that shot. Saw Rosenbaum coming at him and shot him. So, yeah, I really don't think that the defense has any leg to stand on. I know that there are a lot of people accusing this judge of being super biased, and their best evidence for that is he had a ringtone that was proud to be an American.
Yeah.
Which is absolute horseshit. If being proud to be an American makes you somehow biased, okay, I guess I'll accept that. I'm just biased. And as much as this country's disappointed me in the last year or two, I still am proud of my country and to be here and what it was built and stood for, even if I'm not proud of what it's doing currently. We're still a lot better off than a lot of other countries. Have you seen what's going on in Australia right now?
They're forced lockdowns and
Yeah, they'll like rubber bullet your ass if you walk out your house. They're actually loosening up a little bit, but also they have these mandatory COVID passports, and you have to straight up like take a picture of yourself when they demand it to see that you're in your house, and send it in to them. Which is just absolute horseshit. I take like 5,000 pictures and then just send them one at a time. But yeah, just the way this has gone, I do think Kyle's defense has kind of really just been very basic about it. They've asked very basic questions. They were very straightforward. They didn't really try to play hardball though, and I think they should have. Because Kyle's on trial, but the concept of self-defense really is on trial with him.
Yeah.
And the best anything they have against Kyle right now is they have a blurry photo that looks almost like maybe he's pointing the gun at someone right before all of this happens. But the someone he's supposedly pointing at, they know who that is. It wasn't Rosenbaum, and they didn't call those people to testify. I'm going to bet they didn't call those people to testify because they would say, I don't think he was pointing the gun at us.
Yeah.
Also in that photo where they say he's pointing the gun, his gun's on the wrong shoulder. If to be pointing it. He would have to be left-handed to be pointing it that way. So I think what's actually happening is it's kind of slung to the side instead of across.
Yeah, I saw one video. This guy was talking to him and was or not talking to him. He was yelling at him. And he said, "Man, you walked up to us with your gun like this. What are we supposed to think?" And he motioned how you would carry at a low ready. Mm-hmm. It's it's not pointed at you though. It's just I'm scared and there's a group of people coming at me. I'm gonna be ready if I need to.
Yeah. Also, there's a concept that Matt Christensen went through. He's a pretty good channel. I would suggest giving him a follow. But he went through the laws that exist in their state and how essentially even if you provoke a fight, if you then try to retreat, you regain your innocence. So even if we grant that he provoked it, which I don't, the people he provoked it with were not the people chasing him, and he retreated before then. Before he shot anybody who was trying to run away when he was being chased. So yeah. That doesn't hold water for me at all. I don't think it's going to hold water for the jury. I know they did have to dismiss a member of the jury in this trial.
Really?
Because he cracked some joke about Jacob Blake. Because, Jacob Blake is still honored. He's still on some NFL helmets as, a victim of police brutality.
Wow.
So, he it's kind of like the Mike Brown thing. Mike Brown attacked a cop and then everybody acted like he did something rough.
Yeah.
The George Floyd thing was a lot more understandable for people to be upset about. Now, once all the video was out, even though the one video didn't drop for 6 months, then it's a little more difficult. But I still understand the other argument there.
Yes.
So, I don't know. But that's kind of our co-op. They did give closing arguments today. So it'll go to the jury. I imagine we'll have a verdict sometime this week. We'll go over that next week. If he doesn't get off for this, I don't know how I'll react, honestly. I lost a little bit of sleep over the Chauvin verdict. I think I lose significantly more sleep over this because at least with Chauvin I could kind of understand where people were coming from.
Yeah.
I stay particularly apprised of certain situations. I do a lot of research in something if it matters to me. And I know a lot of people just don't spend that kind of time. They hear what's on TV and that's all the understanding they have, and I get that. So, but I think personally, my opinion as an American, it's kind of your duty to try to be informed.
Yeah. And the whole thing, the whole reason he was there and the whole reason Rosenbaum was the first person he shot, correct?
Yep.
Rosenbaum.
Mr. Shoot Me N-word.
Yeah.
Wish granted.
The whole reason Kyle was even at that situation, why he ran up on there, was he was trying to put out a pickup that was on fire. They lit a truck on fire, and he was trying to put it out.
Yep.
And then dude got pissed off that he was trying to put out his fire.
Yeah. There's footage of him putting out a dumpster fire elsewhere in the aerial footage. When you see Elijah Schaefer run behind an SUV because, there's gunshots and he's like, I don't want to die. Someone's trying to bust out the windows of the SUV and set that SUV on fire while he's hiding behind it.
Please don't.
So, he talked about that and you can tell he was a little freaked out. He's like, yeah, I thought I was going to die, man.
I think just about anybody in that situation would have too.
Yeah. Of all the rough situations I've been in, I haven't been shot at.
I haven't been shot at in a situation like that. I think some guy thought I was a deer when I was like 13.
Yeah. So that whole thing is just nuts. And I realize that by the time anybody's seeing this, you've probably heard about this ad nauseum. But I think it's important to cover, and so we're going to cover it anyway. Plus, it's the biggest story of the week. So yeah. You want to jump into something maybe a little more fun? One of your other topics?
Okay. I have two other topics, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll go into a more lighthearted one first.
Okay.
Elon Musk and Bernie Sanders had a little fun back and forth on Twitter the other day. Or I don't know exactly when, but probably should have wrote that down. Anyway, Bernie tweets how something to the effect of they need to tax the rich more, they need to pay their fair share, period.
People richer than him, specifically.
Yeah. Elon Musk, who is currently the richest man in the world, he tweets back, I keep forgetting you're still alive.
Yeah. This dude has like slowly turned himself into Tony Stark, pretty much.
Yeah, he has. Have you heard his plans for like if we wanted to terraform Mars?
I've heard him talk about it a little bit, but not in a lot of detail now. It was like shortchanged in an interview where I saw it.
Okay, it might be. That's where I saw it, but it's like you slowly do it by like you have to heat up the planet somehow. So like start introducing, like trying to do like plants and stuff and do it slowly. Or the fast way is you drop nuclear bombs over the poles at the exact same time.
Oh. Well then.
Is that not like evil genius sounding kind of stuff?
See, yeah, but I don't think. Well, Elon Musk has some views I disagree with, particularly around. He does kind of believe in a little bit of socialist type stuff. He's kind of like Joe Rogan in that regard. But I think if we have an evil genius billionaire, that's probably Bill Gates.
Yeah.
And then Elon is the opposite of him.
Yeah.
Elon Musk is also worth like 10 times as much as Tony Stark is in the comics.
Yeah.
So.
I guess evil would not have been probably would have been the right word. Mad.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit bonkers. But so an hour after the I keep forgetting you're still alive tweet, he tweets again to Bernie, should I sell more stock? And then within a couple hours or maybe a day or two after that, he sold 4% of his shares, or less than 4% of his shares in Tesla, and gained another $6.9 billion to his cash flow.
And that's like, he's worth like $100 billion or something. Most billionaires have far less liquid cash on hand.
Oh.
That's cash to him, my guy.
Yeah. Musk is at 285.
Is he?
Yeah.
Man. Yeah. So hundreds of billions of dollars, but most of them don't have that much on hand.
Yeah.
I think for example, I've heard one billionaire talk about how he was technically a billionaire, but he actually had maybe like a little over 100 million cash on hand, which ain't nothing.
Yeah.
But it's 10% of his worth is in actual liquid money. So
Those are his pillows.
yeah, it's hard, but it feels good at the same time.
Like fake tits.
That's not where I was gonna go with it, but it is in the same neighborhood. So I'm gonna move to Steve Bannon's indictment just because I want to save my more fun ones for after the serious stuff. Steve Bannon, for those who don't know, used to run Breitbart back when Milo was there, and he also was in the Trump administration. I failed to write down his exact position while he was in there. I think he was a secretary or something, but I think he was in the cabinet, in other words. But he was indicted for contempt of court last week.
Excuse me.
Because the House tried to subpoena him over the January 6th insurrection to see if he had any prior knowledge or planning, because they're still insistent that Trump planned out an insurrection rather than, what actually happened, which was not that. I mean, I think that perhaps they overstepped in some ways. But a lot of what they did, especially having seen a more recent video that came out of when Mr. Strange, the most famous Viking of the last 1,000 years, walked into the House chamber. Look, man, he sacked the most powerful capital of the world. What do you want from me? Like, he is.
Buy him some mead.
A lot of the Norse community probably wouldn't claim him, but I mean, if you're not going places you're not wanted and taking things that don't belong to you, are you really a Viking? So,
That's a fair point.
they were basically pirates. They were pretty much known for raping and pillaging. So,
Pillage the village, trash the scene. Just better not take it out on me.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Epic band. If you could name that band in the comments, I'll be very impressed. But basically they subpoenaed him and he was like, this is stupid. And he just didn't go. And so they charged him with contempt of court on Friday, I think. And he submitted himself to the FBI today, actually. And they made him surrender his passport because I believe he's actually a citizen of England. And he surrendered that so he couldn't leave the country, and then basically he's probably going to have to respond to the subpoena. I have heard critics of him say that basically he thinks he's so wealthy he gets to ignore it. Personally, if I was him, I'd be like, you guys know this is BS, I'm not coming to get that. That's where I feel like he's coming from. I think it's pretty clear that Trump didn't plan any type of insurrection type deal, nor do I think an insurrection is really what occurred. But even if it is, if your problem is with your government, maybe take it to your government.
Yeah, my wife even, she started out, she was like, yeah, it was ridiculous, that these people did that. And I'm like, well, that's what you're supposed to do. I was like, well, everybody was upset with people burning down, in Kenosha and Seattle and all that. And I'm like, yeah, because they're burning down regular people's businesses and, their own communities. Go to the government. Go to where your problem actually lies. Burn down the government.
Defensively. Let's wait a couple podcasts before endorsing armed insurrection.
It's your constitutional duty.
I'm choking on some whiskey over here. Oh,
man. Your nose?
No,
Damn it. But-
it did feel like it went up in the sinuses, though.
Cleared you out, man. Get rid of that headache quick.
The position Bannon served under Trump was he was essentially the CEO of his campaign. He was the strategist of his campaign. And then he was a senior counselor to the president following his election.
I don't think, I guess by that time Trump had already lost the election, hadn't he? By the time of the...
Yes.
Yes. Never mind what I was going to say. Like, if this had happened last year, that would not be a very good campaign strategy. But
Yeah, he wasn't the strategist for the 2020 election. He was the strategist for the 2016 election. He left after a little while working with Trump to go back to Breitbart. There was some notion at the time that there may have been some kind of bad blood between them, but he said that he just wasn't suited for what he was doing in the White House, and he thought he could do more good for Trump and the movement Trump started at Breitbart. So
that makes sense.
that said, Breitbart has developed an interesting slant. So not that they've ever claimed to be unbiased, so I don't want to hold that too much against them. But if I read an article from them and it's inflammatory, we're talking about some kind of ridiculous something going on that they're kind of shaking their fists at the sky about or something, I may check into it a little more. That reminds me of the Young Turks very much and what they do. That said, a lot of the stuff that I have read from them, which isn't a whole bunch, has shaken out to be true. So, not like Alex Jones. Alex Jones is like 6 months ahead of the curve constantly. So,
I don't know. I guess. How do you test if a frog is gay or not?
I don't know, but it was happening. So,
Really?
yeah, that was a real thing.
Crap.
It did turn the frogs gay. That was not a joke.
Oh, okay.
That actually happened.
Well then, I guess you put a frog penis in a frog vagina in front of a straight or a male frog and see which size you
It just it caused them to develop weird mating tendencies. It jacked with their hormone imbalance, so you ended up with essentially like metrosexual frogs. A lot like what's happening to American men because of the consequence of the fact that we can't distill.
bourbon.
We can't distill the chemicals that come out of a woman when she's on birth control back out of the water supply, so we start taking it in, taking in more estrogen, and our testosterone has been dropping for generations now. So that's another problem.
Yeah. And here I am with we're only running on one cylinder, so.
But that's kind of the whole Steve Bannon thing. It's not a huge thing. A lot of the left is celebrating it as a huge thing because Merrick Garland is charging someone for something to do with January 6th, but it's a contempt of court charge. It's not major. I don't think they'll ever get anything super heavy towards January 6th.
It's just a witch
Although
hunt.
they have, locked up people and thrown away the key for essentially trespassing. There's been some dude that's had no bond posted since like 2 weeks after this happened.
Really?
Yeah, and he's charged with felony trespassing.
What with a speedy trial and all?
They suspended that for him, I guess.
Huh.
I didn't look that up for this. That's something I heard. So if you're gonna fact check me on that, I may have gotten off on some details there.
Please send links so we can further educate ourselves.
Yeah, by all means, if we get a fact wrong, feel free to shoot us something. If you shoot me on Turk's video, I'm probably going to send you a picture of me doing something not particularly appropriate for the cross hanging to my left. But, beyond that.
That Jesus thing I sent you, was that yesterday?
No. I don't remember. What Jesus thing?
It's like a toy you can get. You build your own cross.
Oh, no. No, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so that coupled with the loophole song.
Terrifying. On that note, yeah, you got something else you want to talk about?
Yeah, I do.
Things going on people's asses and whatnot.
They might have, which got a guy beat with a brick. So October of 2020, I'm gonna pull out my little notes here. I could probably do it off the top of my head, but so yeah, October of last year, John Eisman and his girlfriend reported their car stolen. October of this year, that car was found. It was a 1991 green Honda Accord, and it had the body of Andrew Sorensen, who was 20, in the trunk of it. Andrew had sold, allegedly, they don't have proof on this.
Well, there certainly won't be a trial. So.
Andrew allegedly sold John's daughter, who was Andrew's girlfriend, into a sex trafficking ring in Seattle, Washington. John found out, went and found his daughter. There's been no details released about how he got her back or any of that. I'm anxious to hear more.
Yeah, I want to know if this guy went taking on some people, like just went in and, or Frank Castle just freaking dropping bodies.
There was a woman down in Mexico who did that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. So John meets up with Andrew, hits him in the head with a cinder block, ties him up, throws him in the trunk of his car, stabs him to death, dumps the car off in a rural part of the county, reports the car stolen, and it sits for about a year till middle of October this year. October 29th, John was arrested and pled guilty to killing that man.
My understanding is he was just cold as a cucumber when he was sentenced.
Yeah. He had apparently told one of his neighbors about it, and then police had gotten an anonymous tip about
Definitely not from the neighbor.
about the location of the car, or whose car it was, because he dumped it off out in the country, and then somebody had taken it back to Spokane, where they lived at, and it was a different neighborhood, but same basic town. And it was unlocked, keys were in it. People started looking through the car. It was like, whose car is this? Let's try to find somebody. And then they popped the trunk, and there's a dead fella.
Yeah.
And
Somebody else I'm not too sad about dying.
yeah,
And honestly, I respect the guy a lot, because it's like, yeah, he saved his daughter. I don't think he's a threat to anybody as long as you don't mess with his family, which kind of how you should be. So
yeah.
I don't see the issue.
Now, Andrew Sorensen's family is saying that's not the kind of person he was. He probably physically couldn't have done that. He did have cerebral palsy.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how far they've kind of adjusted what autistic actually is and stuff kind of more recently, but he's apparently had cerebral palsy and he was autistic and had some other issues, but I don't know how much does it cost to, hey, I'll sell you that for $250 and then you deal with it after that.
Yeah.
So, but none of that's been actually verified yet.
Yeah, and who knows if they'll be able to, because, it's essentially a year cold.
Yeah.
But the dad didn't seem to mind at all. He was quoted saying something like, "I lived a good life.
Yeah.
I'm fine."
The daughter said she's very proud of him and hopes that he can get off with, out, before he's $1 million. So
Yeah.
there has been a GoFundMe set up for him for legal fees. I don't really know what kind of legal fees he's gonna need because he already pled guilty, but
Yeah, maybe he has some debt that his family will be left with, so who knows. Or maybe he'll have to pay those when he gets out along with some fines,
yeah.
if he gets out.
So, but with that, the only thing I can see that if everything he said was true, and that was why he did it. The only thing I could see was he filed a false police report.
Yeah, I think they would argue that he wasn't allowed to go kill the dude after the fact. Like, if he'd caught him in the act, that's one thing, but he got his daughter back and then went and killed the guy.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying, morally, personally.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
The only thing I would say he did wrong was he filed a false police report.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's something they can do for abandoning a vehicle, but
Yeah.
maybe find a leak instead of parking it somewhere.
Yeah. Some kind of relatively deep body of water, man. That said, I knew a guy that dumped a truck in a river and the cops found it within a few hours, so.
Yeah.
He was kind of an idiot, though. He's in prison now, shocker. Yeah. You have any more on that?
I do not. That was about all they got.
Alright, we'll move on to kind of our last thing, I think. Which is a brothel in Austria offering free sex for vaccinations.
Is it Austria or Australia?
Austria.
Okay.
Like Austria-Hungary, Austria.
Yeah.
So,
Makes sense.
apparently this brothel has had issues with business since COVID started, shocker. They've been at like 50% capacity, and Austria has made a mandatory COVID vaccine pass. And these guys decided they would set up a vaccination clinic every Monday for the rest of the month from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. And if you come in and get vaccinated there, they will give you a free pass for 30 minutes with any girl there of your choosing. There's even a picture in the article that I have pulled up here to reference of one of the girls.
How many times can you get vaccinated in a week? Or in a day?
Oh man.
Give me 4 today, and I'll be back next week for another 4.
Just going to get vaccinated, honey. I'll be gone for a couple hours. Oh man, that's just some hilarious degeneracy all around. Really.
Yeah.
It makes me laugh. The name of the place is called Sex Star Sauna Club.
Sex Star Sauna Club.
Yep.
Shit, that's cool. It's even got a cool name. I mean, come on, man! Like the biggest pussy magnet from like the 70s through early 2000s come out of Austria. So.
Oh gosh.
It didn't matter if they were old and ugly, fat, housekeeping, or what, but.
Yeah, you're talking about Arnold, I assume.
I am.
Yeah. That was what I thought. I just wasn't sure if you were referencing something outside of him as well. But once you said the housekeeping thing, I was pretty sure.
Yeah.
Let's see. Only 64% of the population in their country is vaccinated. So the U.S. has more vaccinated people and not the same level of vaccine mandate. Not that I don't think we would have one if they could spit it in any way. Excuse me. But they just, there's only so much constitutional overreach they can go through before they end up with an extra large campfire. So, yeah, I had to tell that one just because I thought it was so hilarious.
Yeah, that was pretty amazing. There's probably not a lot of things that would actually convince me, but I would say that would probably be getting warmer.
Oh man.
I'm so glad my wife doesn't watch these.
64% of the country is vaccinated, but 100% of the men will be inside of 2 weeks. Oh, could you imagine being there on the last Monday though? Just, Man, it smells funky in here.
You just bring a fucking flashlight to shove in there because you know what's well.
Oh
Just
gosh.
get a look at something. Oh shit.
Watch this be the one video your wife watches.
Oh, that's alright.
Whoops. Oh yeah, we brought Steve. Steve the Skull. He's still here. We will never not have him somewhere on set.
This is what happens when you get a sexy sauna place.
Oh no. I think he'll be alright.
He's smiling.
I'd just like to point out he did have a body once. But twice, really.
Yeah.
There's a joke there, but I'm gonna leave it. Anyway, that's all we really have for you today. So I hope that you enjoyed this one. I hope the audio is not too bad, and we will adjust as we go. Try to improve this and make this a more solid podcast for you guys. Maybe we can even get some mic stuff set up and live stream eventually if there's enough reception for this.
Yeah.
So, you got anything else for him?
I do not.
All right. Well, that's us for this week. Till we see you again, I'm Zach.
I'm Jake.
And we are the Dirt Road Men. You're out of whiskey, aren't you?
Oh, yeah, a little bit.